7 stages of a bad trade. And my idea behind going around this 7 stages of bad trade, because I'm sure you're going to identify yourself in some of these, is to help you to avoid these mistakes, because this is the kind of stuff that hurts you. It's not so much that we incurred losses. We all incur losses. It's just simply not allowing it to keep running and running and running and running against us. Okay, plus, usually bad trades begin right from the start at entry, right? And it's usually because people will enter a trade without an edge. How do we define edge? Who can tell me how do we define edge?
Volume in the market.
Matt, that's an edge. That's an edge, right? But the definition of an edge is what I'm getting at. Trading your plan is also right. There is an edge in your plan, but what constitutes? How do you know when you're going to go in? Your edge has to be very defined, right? There's volume in the market. There's a breakout, right? Or an attempted breakout. There's already a pullback. It's a Fibonacci level, perhaps. It's bouncing from a pivot, perhaps. It is at supply or demand. Any one of those is an edge, right? Because we know that when price gets there, it tends to do something predefined. That's it, Andy, right there. It tends to do something predefined, right? Now, just because our edge is present, we don't necessarily go in right away. We need a confirmation. And this is another reason why traders get in trouble, because they don't wait for a confirmation. Now, your plan of action may be that your edge and your confirmation is the same. For example, price returns to supply, and you have already determined based on your strategy that you're going to have a limit order there to enter you immediately without waiting for a bearish candle to come into play, and you take it right away, right? You, as soon as it touches, you're in, right? It could be that you've already done that, okay? Now, more conservative approach would be to wait for a bearish candle at supply to print so that you can take the reverse. That is exactly what happened this morning with GJ, and last night with gold when it bounced from support. Okay, so the problem that a lot of traders get in when they are trading is that they trade with no edge or no confirmation. Okay, and that is at the entry. They've already started the wrong way, right? So here's a good example of something like that. We have price is moving kind of up, okay, and they decide without any markings, without determining where they are in the market, they just simply decide, okay, market price is moving up, I'm going to go up with it, okay? And they enter a buy, which is usually the problem with beginner traders, is they're pursuing price instead of waiting for price to come to them, okay? Now you enter into early drawdown, right? Which happens to everybody, right? Early drawdown is usually no big deal. It's reasonable price, you're 2 or 3 pips in drawdown, maybe 4 or 5, maybe 6 pips in drawdown. It could happen depending on your setup. At this stage, everything seems okay. This is just a little bit of drawdown. Everything is fine. Everything is okay, right? If you are in a winning trade or a losing trade, you don't really know quite yet where you're at, right? Even if you're trading your plan. Even if you're trading your plan, there's still some times when you're going to have early drawdown, and you got to figure out where is this drawdown at, okay? And it may look something like this, right? Price was moving up. Now it kind of gave a wick at the top and starts moving down, okay? And it starts moving down, closes bearish, and you're like, this is maybe not so good, but you're still in it, right? Then you perceive that trouble is brewing, right? You see trouble is brewing because price action starts going against you. You hope it comes back. That is already a bad sign, right? If you begin to hope for anything in the market, you are already on the wrong side of probabilities, because probabilities do not operate on hope, right? Probabilities are just plain probabilities, statistical numbers. It either does this or does that. It follows a thesis or it doesn't follow the thesis. Hoping does not come into this equation. Praying to God and trying to call down from heavens the favor of God on your life at this point doesn't really come into play, right? You are either in the correct trade or the incorrect trade, and you got to follow the probabilities, okay? So this is what that may look like. The reason why I have this here is because, okay, you have early drawdown there, and now this candle has broken below this candle. If you think about it, this is exactly what I tell you to look for a reversal, okay? This is an area of resistance here, obviously, right? It was rejecting here, rejecting here, rejecting here. Depending on where you put the zone here, you might have had a breakout, you might have had a retest and it's pushing up, but now it is giving you a sign of reversal by giving you a bearish candle and the break below. So price action is already telling you this is not looking good, but you're still in because you're hoping, okay? Now you have a break of structure. Now things get really ugly, right? Price is clearly not favorable. Once you have price breaking down structure, you know that this is no longer any good. You should know that this is no longer any good, but we're talking about the stages of a bad trade, so let's go through them, okay? You're still in the trade, even though it is breaking structure. Here you can see it, right? Now it's broken this structure over here. This was support. This is a level of support. I know there's more support here, more support there, more support there, but that is a level of support, and price has now broken through it. That is another sign that you're not in a good trade. This is no good. Well, how can I say? You could have been in a good trade if you played it with an edge and confirmations, but now it's telling you this is no longer worth staying in, okay? It's no longer staying in this trade, but a bad trader still in the trade. Now you go into major drawdown, okay? Price is now running in the opposite direction, and you're still in the trade, okay? Reluctance to close now because of a major loss. We've all experienced this. Right now, we don't want to close. Now we don't want to close at all because price has moved so far away that the loss is just huge now. This is why I have said before, I know my threshold about where it is, you know. 0.5% loss, I can handle. A 1% loss, okay. 1.5%, now we're really pushing it, and 2% is really pushed. You know, if I take a 2% loss now, I used to let it ride to a 3%. If I have a 2% loss now, that is time to re-examine my life. What am I doing? You know, because I don't let it go that far. There's just no way I'm going to let it go that far without mitigating it, right? Without cutting some losses, without cutting my risk, and starting to examine whether I should just go in the opposite direction by getting out of this trade and reassessing. Okay, but this poor fella right here is in major drawdown, and he doesn't want to close the trade because the bill is big now, right? Earlier, the bill was little. The loss was going to cost you little. It was still going to cost you, but it was going to cost you little. Now the loss is going to cost you a lot. And this fella right here is having a hard time closing, okay? This is what it looks like, right? Now price is running. And this poor fella is thinking, well, I still have this last line of defense over here. This could still bounce from here, right? It did bounce from here once. It could still bounce from here, ignoring the fact that it's already have many confirmations of this is not going your way, including support that formed here, and yet it kept going down, okay? And now the drawdown becomes unbearable. Now it really hurts, right? Hope is all but gone. You kind of given up already, but you're still in the trade, still holding this position, right? Because again, it is a big, massive loss now, and that's what it looks like. This is horrible. This is really bad. At any one of these pullbacks could have gotten out. Any one of these pullbacks could have gotten out, but no, still in the trade. Still in the trade, still hoping, still somewhat believing price is going to come up because it always comes back, right? Price always comes back. Well, now you finally determine that your account is blown, or you close your trade, right? You close your trade because you're close to blowing your account, or you have blown your account. And now comes dejection, right? You're dejected because how many opportunities we had to get out of this trade, but you were still in it, right? Frustration. How many times am I going to let this happen to me until I stop this madness? Okay. Anger over yourself, your lack of control, your lack of discipline. Didn't really follow a plan, wasn't really trading on your time frame, your session. When volume was present, all the things that you know create an edge. Now you're angry with yourself. Now shame comes in, right? Because you should know better. Now that inner critic is really yelling at you. You're really taking a beating from those voices in your head. And finally, you're traumatized, right? You have taken one trade too many that did this, and now you are in shock. And you may not think that you can get a trauma from trading, but you can. And that is the next time that you go in, now you're hesitant. Now, when price really wants to go in your favor, you take 2 and 3 pips. Now, you see your edge, you get a confirmation from your edge, and you don't go in. You finally go in when prices now move way too far. You're chasing it again. And again, you may profit 2 or 3 pips, but you can't really take advantage of the full position because you are dealing with trauma that has not been resolved. Okay, this is what that looks like, right? I mean, it just kept running. This was gold a few weeks ago, or a few days, maybe last week. It just ran and ran and ran and ran and ran and ran. All right, so how do we eliminate the bad trades? Let's go into that, okay? Because this is the solution, okay? So you go into an entry, but you don't just go into an entry, right? You find an edge, right? You find an edge and you have a plan. Each edge has a plan, right? Whether you're taking demand or supply, whether you're doing a Fibonacci move, or whether you're doing support and resistance, reversals, fake outs, whatever it is that you're doing, they have rules, right? So you have followed your rules, you have seen your edge, and now you have a confirmation on your edge, and now you go in, all right? So let's take that trade. So here's an example. Same kind of setup, but at least this time you had structure, you have a plan of action here, you have a breakout, you have a retest, it is pushing up, it is breaking through the high, things are looking good, okay? So you're good, all right? Then you go into early drawdown, all right? That's still all good, right? Because early drawdown just can happen to anybody. You're keeping your eye on price action. Price action still hasn't violated any of your rules. Everything is fine. You're still in the trade. And this is what it looks like. Take notice that this is the exact same chart that I just showed a few minutes ago. It's the exact same chart, okay? So there you go. It started pushing up. Then it kind of decided, okay, I'm not going up after all. And it closes. It's still closed, right? It's still closed above the resistance area. Perhaps it could go up. Perhaps it could go up. So everything is still all right, okay? Now you sense that trouble is brewing, right? And why would you sense trouble is brewing? Because price action is violating its own rules. Let's go take a look at it in just a minute. First sign of price action irregularity. I'm going to show you that in just a second. And this is when you cut risk. How much risk should you cut? I always cut 50%. You know, you can change it to whatever you want. You can change 25%, you can change 30%, whatever it is that you want. The whole point is, do not let your entire risk be blown. It just doesn't make any sense if price action is showing you that it doesn't want to continue in your direction. And this is what that looks like, okay? You took the breakout or you took the retest, and now price has returned or it's closed there, the first candle. The second candle breaks the low of this candle. It respects this high and breaks this low. Time to get the heck out. At least cut your risk, right? Time to start cutting your risk. Time to start taking risk out of the market. It's okay if you're going to lose. It's already not looking great, but you're not going to let this thing really hurt you. You're going to pay a price for sure today, okay? For sure, you're going to pay the price today, but you're not going to let it traumatize you, all right? You cut half of your position here. That's what I do, all right? And now you have a break of structure. Again, the same scenario as before. You close the trade, period. Trade is over, okay? It's done. This is what that looks like, okay? Now, I have exaggerated here what I tend to do. Like, once this candle breaks the low of this green candle, I'm out. Or breaks the low of this candle already, right? Because I already cut half here. And now this one, again, is respecting the high and breaking the low. I'm out. I don't need to wait any longer. I will have lost, I don't know, whatever that is, 5 pips on the half of a position and maybe 7 or 8 pips on the other half of a position. You know, put it all together and we're looking at about 10 pips on 60% of my position, something like that. Okay. But for those who like to hang in there longer, for those who may want to keep open, there is structure here, right? There's structure there. There is support there, and it's violated that support now. It's no longer worth staying in this trade. This is when you get out. And there is a world of difference between what happened before and what you ended up with. In fact, if you take a minute to take a look at this, if you had just gotten out of this trade and continued to watch how price is acting, you could have caught this sell, right? Could have caught this sell. Perhaps not with this level of support break, but certainly with this level of support break, it broke, retested, and dropped, you know. So I think that's it, guys. Do you have any questions related to this? Esto se acabó.